Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to find out together today what the best value booster box in all of Scarlet and Violet era is. What is the best buy right now? So sit back, stay tuned, relax, and welcome to PokeMarketLab. All right, folks, let's get into it. Yeah, we're going to look at some data today to try to make a determination as to what maybe the most undervalued box is. What is the best pickup right now? All these boxes in Scarlet and Violet are hot. Everything is up. Everything has grown in the last year. Are there still any, we're not going to find deals. We're not going to find $100 booster boxes, but is there anything that's underpriced? Like if you're wondering where you should put your money right now from a booster box standpoint, that's what I'm going to try to give you a thesis on today. I think there's a couple of boxes that are, yeah, I guess would call them underpriced at this point or undervalued based on the sets they represent. So with that, let's look at booster box prices right now. So let's start in the top left corner here with SV base sitting at $150, actually grown quite a bit. Most of you know my opinion on the set. I don't love it. I think 150 is actually expensive compared to, on the right side here, we have Paradox sitting at 160 and Temporal at 170. I think I'd actually spend a few bucks more and get something like that. But SV base it's fine. It's okay. And it's, again, market's kind of thrown money at it, not because it's awesome, just because it was cheap, and it's getting old. Next month we're gonna hit 2 years on that. So Obsidian sitting at $188. Some good cards in that set, but 180 I think is a bit expensive for, I think there's great cards in the set. I think there's just too many of them in the market. I really do think that's the case with Obsidian. Paldea, we just did a video on that. Nice, solid set. I think the $200 price is actually perfectly appropriate for that. 98% growth in the last year here. Paradox sitting at 159, 73% growth. Temporal, I always call these like sister brother sets, Paradox and Temporal. They always kind of chase each other up a little bit here and kind of leapfrog each other as they both gradually grow. Temporal sitting at $168, 51% growth in the last year. And then on the bottom here, we go to Twilight. Twilight kind of sparks the growth in SV. It kind of raised the flag and said, hey, look at Scarlet and Violet. There's some good stuff to look at over here. All the while Paldea was kind of performing, was doing a little bit, better at that time. But Twilight is really the spark. So Twilight sitting at $200 and 50% growth in the last year. Stellar sitting at 165. I think Stellar's a little bit over. I think that price is a little high comparatively here on a box that's actually quite young still and certainly due for a reprint, or certainly high reprint risk. Sitting $165, 27% growth in the last year. And of course, my favorite set out of these, Surging Sparks, holding up at a beautiful $250 with a 67% growth in the last year. All right, let's look at total value of cards in set. I use this all the time to kind of show us just a totality of all the market value in a set, right? This is not what you're going to get in a box. This is not expected value out of a box. This is representative of the set itself, right? So it's the market price of every single card in the set added up, okay? So that kind of just shows us the total value from a set standpoint. So SV base sitting at $615. Obsidian Flames, there's good cards in the set. There's certainly good stuff to love in there. The pull rates are such, there's a high population of cards out in the wild. So that, I think, as time goes on, Obsidian Flames, it's never going to be a Surging Sparks or anything like that from a total value standpoint, but I think it can claw up past that $500 price point at some point in the future as those cards start to dry up. Paldea sitting at a great $1,200. Paradox at $1,000. Temporal and Paradox kind of parity each other, sitting at $920. Twilight at $1,100. Stellar, again, struggling from a card value standpoint at $566. And again, Surging Sparks here sitting at $1,800. So as time goes on, remember, what's essentially happening with the booster box is it is an exchange fund. It's an index fund of all the cards in the set, right? Because you could pull anything from the set, from the top card to the lowest, right? And so the dynamic in the market typically is the total value, not the total value, but the potential value of cards that you could pull from that set, right? direct kind of pushes the box price, right? Obviously, if you can pull Surging Sparks, you can pull a Pikachu EX SAR. It's a $500 card. That's going to inform the booster box price as well, right? Because obviously, if you can, figure out the math, you can crack that box, enough boxes, enough packs to eventually pull a Pikachu and potentially turn some value. So the value of total value of cards in set in some way, shape, or form informs the booster box price. There's other things out there like supply, natural demand, natural supply of boxes in the market, but generally speaking, there's some correlation there. So, and as time goes on, like I mentioned with Obsidian, there's a chance that these prices will move. These move daily as the cards in this set move, right? We've seen a ton of cards across the board from Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, just accumulate tremendous value recently, right? So that's driven this up. And right, again, booster box prices have risen precipitously with those card values that kind of leapfrog each other as time goes on. So I kind of want to visualize this, visualize card value distribution. I use this all the time when I'm looking at individual sets, and I wanted to do that across a multitude of sets here. So I'll kind of point out, so this is the top 20 spots in the top 20 cards from each set and their market values graphed out. And so what we can kind of do is kind of see some relationships between them here. We just looked at total value, but now we're looking at individual spots. So obviously the standouts here are Surging Sparks with that Pikachu right at the front there. That's that light green line. That's an almost $500 card. And then we see kind of if you kind of draw, connect the dots from the top of those green points, vertical bars, you can kind of see a smooth drop in price. So it's not just a Pikachu or bust. There's plenty of other cards. There's Latias there in second place at almost 250 and so on and so forth. But the point here is that Surging Sparks in every single spot on this almost every single spot in this 20 card lineup here, 20 spot lineup takes the crown. And the point I guess I'm trying to visualize, which we'll come to a conclusion on here in a few moments, is Surging Sparks is an expensive booster box at $250. Is it appropriately priced at $250? And I think you can kind of guess where I'm going at with this is for the cards that are in the set and the demand for those cards and the subsequent price for those cards, 250 is not as much as you think. And I think, again, we'll go into it in a moment here. Let's look at, Twilight's in second place there, holding beautifully. So Twilight is holding second place in the first 4 or 5 category spots here in this distribution lineup. So Twilight is definitely a fantastic set. However, again, the box has, increased quite a bit recently. All right, so now we're going to look at I'm going to give this do some math here and give these boxes, these sets, a box value score. And the box value score is the total value of all cards in sets. So that's that number we just looked at, that high number, divided by the current booster box price. So let's look at this example on the bottom here, Scarlet and Violet base, total value of every single card in that set, market price, added together is $615, divided by the $149 booster box gives us a 4.2. Okay, very, very basic math. This is not, remember, we're looking at what we can from a data standpoint. There's other things to consider. There's age of product. There is reprint risk on this set. There's whether you like it or not. I talk about this all the time. If you're putting your hard-earned money into this stuff, whether you're cracking it, whether you're investing it, right? I don't want you to go out there and invest in stuff because I'm saying it or because anyone else is saying it. It should be a determination that you come to, either based on math or based on your subjectivity, meaning, do you like the set? Do you like the cards in the set? Is there some nostalgia associated with it for you? I would urge you not to just buy everything, especially if your funds are limited. And maybe your plan is, hey, I just buy a little bit of everything so I can try to capture all growth, right? If you're limited on funds, buy the good stuff. That's what I'm trying to convey here via math. Try to, bring some logic to the purchase decision, but just make sure you like this stuff. All right, so this gives us a 4.2. Now, 4.2 doesn't really tell us anything. We need context outside. We need comparisons, comps, right, to other sets, and that's what we're going to look at next. All right, so if we line up that same booster box value, so higher is better here, okay? So that essentially means you're getting more value for the booster box, the set that we're talking about, okay? And the clear winner here is obviously Surging Sparks. Again, I just think that box is probably underpriced compared to what everything else that we're seeing, and we're seeing that represented here, right? We're seeing the math is telling us that there's plenty of value in that set comparatively. It's still, for what you have in that set from a full totality, there's a lot there, okay? A lot. Remember, $1,800 of individual card value in that set. But it's a $250 box. So Paradox is kind of the second box here, the second place box. And I think that's, a little bit easier to chew from a booster box standpoint. The cards just aren't quite as good as what we have in Surging Sparks. So again, you can kind of see here, Obsidian Flames is hurting, right, from a card value standpoint, and the box, right. So the box price, if the box price goes up, that math hurts, right. That math goes down. You see that price, that ratio start to drop. And everything else is holding up pretty well. Scarlet and Violet base actually holding up, has certainly benefited from recent price action on cards, on individual cards, for sure. Stellar is really what this is telling us on Stellar is it's just overpriced right now in the booster box. So I think the entry point for the current box is probably a little too high. And but part of it, it's not that it's a bad set, it's just that it's a young set too, right? Remember, what we're seeing in the market right now is not typical. It's not natural, where a set comes out and prices and cards and stuff start to spike. Typically what happens is a box comes out, the box stays flat or goes down, and the cards go down because there's a ton of people in the population just ripping cards and then pushing those cards into population to sell, right? So it takes a long period of time for cards start to accumulate in value. So there's nothing, that's not saying Stellar Crown's a bad set or anything like that. Certainly not what I'm saying. So let's look at both Paradox and Surging Sparks side by side here, so we can kind of see and look into these a little bit deeper here. So again, look at Surging Sparks on the right hand side. Again, $250 box price, $1,800 of value in that set. We have Pikachu EX at the top, followed by Latias and Melodic here. So, and that value just keeps going, right? So you have your top, I think there's 5, possibly even 6 now, triple digit cards, price value cards in Surging Sparks. So that's pretty significant. So it's not just Pikachu or bust. I mean, you can pull, you could easily pull a Latias, right, and get your box value back. So there's a lot to like in that set. Reprint risk is high. This is a recent set. It will get reprinted. Whether the boxes get reprinted, the booster boxes or the ETBs or what, we don't know. I would say the booster box probably needs a reprint from a long-term standpoint. Bring that price, soften that price just a little bit. ETBs are absolutely a reprint risk. If you can buy the ETBs at $50, that retail price, I think I would give that my seal of approval to buy them at that price and for either ripping or squirreling away. And then let's look at Paradox here. So Paradox is a little bit older than Surging Sparks. So the reprint risk is there. I've talked about this. There's only so much reprint bandwidth that the Pokemon Company has, and as such, something is not going to get the volume of reprint it needs or get reprinted at all from a booster box standpoint. We've seen them avoid reprinting certain products and reprinting other things, ancillary products, booster bundles, ETBs, things like that, and staying away from heavily reprinting booster boxes, kind of leaving that as the untouched, the primary kind of collectible, so to speak. So Paradox here, ton of value in the box for the price is really what this is telling us. $159, a little bit easier to chew and to bite off than a Surging Sparks. This is a great set. I got 3 cards listed here: the Groudon, Altaria, and Roaring Moon. All 3 are awesome cards. There's tons of other cards, some great cheap cards. Paradox Rift was one of those sets where booster box for a long period of time was $100, and the market really just was ignoring it. And there was a ton of beautiful, cool cards, super cheap, and the market's caught on. The market's caught on to everything. I would try to go through any set and find a card that is flat or down in the last year. It's hard. It's extremely hard for anything over $1. So great set, beautiful cards. I think this is a little bit easier to chew off again than the $250 for Surging Sparks. But again, these are absolutely two boxes, two sets where I think they're undervalued at this point. You just have to be willing to hold on if there's a reprint that comes, right? And you have to be. You should be anyway. You should be willing to say, hey, your box price goes down. You don't get all ticked off and say everything's crashing. So that's not the case. So hopefully this video was, I hope you liked it. It took a little while to put together. I thought it was interesting just to see, I was looking curiously to see what box is actually, what set is actually underpriced at this point. So hopefully it's helpful in your purchasing decision. I know it was in mine. And that's it for today. So if you like what we're doing, of course, comment, like, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. PokeMarketLab out.